Welcome to the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce and Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce Small Business Council webinar today. Ray Andrews, I'm the Executive Director of the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce. We'll be joining our guest here in short order, Xavier Lederer. He is a CEO and coach from Ambrose Growth Business Coaching, and we will begin our webinar in just a couple of minutes once we start onboarding some participants and some of you that are going to be with us here today. As for those of you who are joining us already and are populating this webinar at this moment, we will ask later on in this presentation for your participation. There will be moments when we will be pausing. This is an interactive webinar. You'll get out your pencil, get out your pen, get out your scrap paper, and you will be participating along with Xavier as he walks you through the presentation today to learn a little bit about targeting your core customer. So by all means, put your comments in the question and answer once we get to that point, about 15 to 20 minutes into this presentation here today. So stand by, we'll be onboarding some of our folks who are going to be joining us in just about 2 minutes for our Small Business Council webinar. Thank you for being with us here today. So thank you all for joining us here who have come aboard so far for our Small Business Council webinar. I'm Ray Andrews, and I'm the Executive Director of the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, the affiliate chamber of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce. We'll be joined by our guest presenter today, Xavier Lederer, CEO and business coach of Ambrose Growth Business Coaching. We'll begin our presentation, our webinar 1 minute from now. So this is a perfect time if you need to grab your tea or your coffee or your soft drink. This is what we'll be doing in about 1 minute. So we'll be starting our presentation in 1 minute from now. And welcome. This is the Small Business Council Small Business Webinar on behalf of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce and Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce. I am the Executive Director of the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, Ray Andrewson. We welcome you and your participation today. What we'll be learning in the next hour with our presentation today is identifying your core customer. Many of you think you know who your core customer is. You think you know your targets in terms of your marketing and developing your business. But you'll be surprised as our guest will bring you through his presentation today to help you get right to your best core customer. And today we are very pleased and very welcome to bring into our webinar and our Small Business Council event here today, Xavier Lederer. Xavier has been with Ambrose Growth Coaching, his business coaching firm, and he has coached small and not so small businesses over many, many years, working with growth-minded CEOs, small business owners, mid-size, and even large-scale business owners, and who are frustrated with the way that their business is growing or not. And he's a business coach, so his passion is to help you with defining growth strategies, creating a culture of accountability for you and your organization, and become a better leader as well. He is going to walk you through a presentation today that is interactive. They'll be sharing some slides and information with you as well. And we want to welcome you, Xavier. It's always good to be with you. I always learn a lot from you. Thanks for being with us today at the Small Business Council webinar.
Thank you very much, Ray. Thank you very much, everybody, for investing your time with us today. So today we will talk about the core customer. This is a topic that I'm absolutely passionate about. My passion is to help mid-sized businesses grow And core customer is one of these topics that has a transformational impact on the growth of many businesses. Many businesses, small and large, by the way, tend to think that anybody with a wallet is a good potential customer. And we often don't take time to reflect on who our best customers are and what makes them different than our average customers. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. So I'm going to give you an example. I worked with a construction company. They make house additions, like hundreds of other construction companies in Connecticut and in the world. It is kind of the perfect example of a commodity business. They do the same as many other companies do. They had tried to grow for several years, but unsuccessfully. And the CEO was very frustrated that it wasn't going faster. He could see the potential, but the pace was not what he wanted, despite their best efforts. So we started working together on several aspects of their business, and one of them was what we will discuss today. Now, in that case, they went rigorously through the process that we will outline today, which wasn't easy because it takes several iterations. Sometimes it is frustrating, and there's the constant temptation of getting back into the business because I'm busy, I have real work to do, and I'm working 16 hours per day. But they managed to put a bit of time aside every week to work on this, and that paid off. That paid off because they managed to raise their price 60% last year. And they managed to focus their efforts, their sales effort, on finding prospects that look much more like their core customer. And that is how they were able to increase their price. And that is also how they now work with customers that are actually more fun to work with than before. So understanding the characteristics of your core customers and understanding what makes you different in their eyes is absolutely fundamental to grow the business. So let's get started right into it. As Ray mentioned, this is an interactive webinar. So I'm going to ask you to do some work from time to time. All right, so today, I want you to understand the benefits of a clear description of your core customer. I want to outline the steps to describe them and to identify your inside advantage, and I'll come to a minute about what that means. And I want to build confidence that you can grow your business faster and with less pain using, among others, this methodology. So let's start from the basics. And the basics is, from the outside, many of our businesses, construction businesses, law firms, consulting, whatever, many of our businesses kind of look the same from the outside. And it may look from an outsider like we are all in commodity businesses. But the reality is each of our businesses is very different. Once we understand what makes us different in the eyes of our core customers, we can accelerate our growth. Part of what I'm going to explain today comes from this book called the Inside Advantage. It's an amazing book in terms of concept. It is not the best written in terms of fun, but what it says, among others, is every single business has at least one strategic asset, one thing that you do differently, that you are better than other companies, that can form the foundation for future growth. And the thing is, that strategic asset, this strength, is already in your business, even though you might not know it, or even though you might have a wrong assumption about what that is. And your job is to identify what this competitive advantage, this inside advantage is, and to develop it. So I'm going to ask you to take a sheet of paper. It can be a physical sheet of paper, or it can be a Word document, whatever you want. And I want you at this stage of the presentation to answer the following question. What makes you different and unique in the eyes of your customers? So take 30 seconds to think about it. All right. So now you should have a few characteristics on your sheet of paper, things that you think makes you things that make you different. I'm going to challenge you on these words. And I'll give you two examples about why I want to challenge you. So the first example is a chocolate company in New York City. And when I asked them this question, what makes you different? What is your competitive advantage? They told me, oh, we have superior product quality. And this belief drove a lot of their strategic decisions. They spent a lot of time and money in making sure that they would hire the perfect people in their kitchen to make the best possible products. Because the assumption was what makes us different is the quality of our products. Now, I've spent 10 years of my life working in the chocolate business in the US. I've met a lot of chocolate makers, some really good ones, some really bad ones. Every single one of them, including the bad ones, told me that what made them different was their superior product quality. So I asked them to talk to their core customers and ask them the question, hey, what makes us different in your eyes? And they were extremely surprised by the answers. The customers told them, yeah, your product quality is good. You know, there are other chocolate places with also good quality, and you are up there, you know, one among several. But what makes you different for me, your customer, is a sense that you create a sense of community with human connections. One of their core customers told them, you know, I go to your chocolate shop because it is a safe and kind place where people know me and like me. And you can imagine living in New York City, having a safe place where, you know, when you feel down, people know you and treat you like a human being can be a blessing. Another core customer told them, you know, we're a bit older, we have a grown-up daughter, and it's tough for us because she just left the house. And she doesn't really want to visit her old parents. She lives out of state. So what we do with her when she visits us is we come to your place. And when we come to your place, we feel like a family again because we have so many memories when she was younger and we came together to your place. So you can imagine that knowing this changes their perspective on their business. What they offer their clients is not just chocolates, it is they create a sense of connection. They bring families together. Knowing this makes a big difference in how they see their business. Now, they focus much more attention about who they hire for the front of the house, for the storefront of their business. They hire people who are good at connecting with people, who are good at remembering names. Apparently, it's important for their core customers, which before, you know, they would just hire anybody who would drop by and focus a lot of attention on their kitchen staff. So that knowing this shifted their view on the business and shifted their strategy. The second example is the construction company I mentioned. When we first started working together, they told me, you know, we are different and better because of the quality of the work that we do and the cleanliness. We make sure that every team has a vacuum cleaner and that they clean at the end of each day. It is super important for us. And the CEO was very proud of that. And then they talked to their core customer. So we went through the same exercises what we will do today. And the customer said, yeah, we have good quality, but you know, there are many other construction companies in Connecticut and throughout the Northeast that also do good quality work. You're not completely unique in that. But what hurt his feelings was that nobody mentioned cleanliness. Nobody. And he thought it was so important. However, what his core customers mentioned was, hey, what you're really good at is communication. And the thing is, as one of your customers, I want a no drama construction job. Every week, you give me a detailed status update of where things are, what is going to be late or potentially late, and that makes my life easier. Because you understand, I am 50 or 60 years old. My kids are out of the house. I want to keep living where I've been living all my life with my kids, but now my house is too big for me. I need to re-engineer my house so that I can still enjoy it. But the thing is, I'm a busy guy. My wife or my spouse is a busy person as well. I'm kind of a control freak, so communication is super important to me, but I don't have time to control things. And what you bring to me is you make my life easier. Yes, you transform my house and its quality work, all that kind of things, but you also make my life easier. I know that that I should not worry about how the work is going to be with you. And to me, it is worth a lot of money. And that is why he was able to raise his price for the new clients, not for the existing clients, 60%. So the reasoning that we are going to follow today is the following. We are first going to identify the core customer and the characteristics of this core customer. This core customer is going to have a core problem, not a superficial problem. We want the core problem. So the superficial problem is, I want a piece of chocolate. The core problem is, hey, I want to reconnect with my grown-up daughter. That is a fundamental problem. That is a problem that we are solving as businesses. And it takes a bit of work to identify that fundamental problem. Once we know that, we are going to solve that core problem from our core customer through our inside advantage. You can call it the competitive advantage, the brand promise, whatever. It is all the same concept. And that is a reasoning in 3 steps. Who is our core customer? What is the core problem that they have? And which strength do we have and do we need to get better at in order to solve this core problem? And this strength is our competitive advantage. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat or in the Q&A, and Ray will keep a close eye to it. All right. So let's get into the core customer, which is the cornerstone of everything we're talking about here. Now, the core customer is a magical concept because the easiest way to grow your business is by adding new customers that look very much like your best customers. And it sounds super obvious, but it's actually more complex to do than it sounds, because among others, we don't really know who our core customer is. We don't spend time thinking about or reflecting about on who our core customer is. So I'm going to ask you to take 60 seconds. Go back to your sheet of paper that you used 5 minutes ago and answer the following question at this stage of the presentation. So without doing anything else, describe 2 or 3 key characteristics of your best customers. What do you think that these 2 or 3 key characteristics of your best customers are? Take 60 seconds to do this.
We have about 30 seconds left, Xavier, on our timeline. Again, throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, I'll be monitoring the question and answer box right here. So send them along and we'll get them answered as we go along. Probably about another 20 seconds or so.
And when you are ready with your characteristics, you can start putting them in the chat and sharing them with the rest of us. All right. So I want to share a few examples of what it means to describe your core customer. You now have a first description, high level, and we want to improve it. The first example is a company in Texas, and I'm taking that one because they fell in a trap that many small companies want to fall into or dream of. So it's a trucking company, and they serve the oil industry. And their big dream has always been to serve super large oil companies. And they have that, they have achieved that. They have 2 super large oil companies as their clients, and then they have a number of mid-sized oil companies also in their customer base. And one day, one of these super large oil companies decides to find another vendor. And they tell them, you know, we like you, but we found something a bit cheaper down the road, and we'll just change vendor. Now, to this trucking company, that was a disaster. This giant oil company represented 20% of their sales, 20% of their revenue. So they lost 20% of their revenue overnight. So the first reaction was, oh, we need to find another big oil company to replace them. But first they said, hey, let's use our brain first and do this exercise about core customer and see what we should do. And they did this, the exact same exercise that we will do together in this conversation. And they realized that their core customer is actually organizations pretty similar to them. They are honest, dependable, asset-driven. They have skin in the game, kind of family businesses. They are local companies, so not the giant oil companies. And they have revenue between $50 and $500 million. So again, not the giant oil companies. And they said, you know, these companies, these core customers are actually more profitable for us. And they are easier to work with because we have a similar way of thinking. So they instructed the salespeople to go after these companies specifically. And at the beginning, it was tough, you know, in the first few months because they still had lost that 20% of their business. But after 6 months, they had gathered enough business to offset the loss of the big company, and that new business was more profitable than the big company. Because you can imagine the big company wanted a big discount, and these mid-sized companies were willing to pay top dollars because they valued other aspects than only the price. Aspect like, you know, service, on-time delivery, or all that kind of things. So thinking about the core customer enabled them to replenish the pipeline, but in a more profitable way, so that they could finance growth in the future. Now, 12 months later, that big oil company came back to them and said, you know, we want to come back because the price was good, but the service was not as great as yours. Can we please come back? And they took them on. And the moral of the story is focusing on your core customer is great, and it's one of the key recipes to grow your business faster. But I'm not talking about stop working with other customers. Typically, what I would expect is 20 or 30% of your customers are your core customers, and the rest are non-core customers, and that is fine. I'm not talking about getting rid of these 70% of other customers. I'm talking about gradually increasing the share of core customers and going from 20% of core customers to 25%, 30%, 35%, and so on, and gradually, slowly growing that share, which will generate an acceleration in your growth. Another example is a much smaller company. It is a marketing agency, a very good marketing agency in Connecticut. They found a way to service small mom-and-pop businesses. Now, for most digital marketing agencies, small businesses or local mom-and-pop shops are not easy to deal with because they don't have much money and they are not very profitable. But this company found a way to streamline their work so that they can make these things not too expensive for mom and pop, and they can and make money on this work. So their core customer before we started working together was, hey, any local business that wants to invest in their web presence is our core customer. And to be honest with you, this is a marketing agency. So I thought, well, they kind of know their customers because it's what they do. They are a marketing company. But we went through the exercise nonetheless, and they realized that their core customer is very different. And I mentioned this specifically for this marketing agency because if you think that you know your core customer, I want to challenge you and to think that again, because just like this company who thought that they knew who the core customer was, they did not, even though it was a marketing agency. So they realized their core customer was actually not any local business. It was much more service providers than product-based businesses, because they realized that they are much better at generating leads than generating actual e-commerce business. Now, funny enough, the second characteristic of their core customer is these are Generation X or baby boomers, not younger people. Why is that? In their specific case, because they noticed younger clients tend to think that they know online marketing. They don't, but they think they do. And as a result, they have to spend a lot of time educating them about, all the mistakes that the clients want them to make. And it costs them a lot of time and makes them less profitable. Generation X and baby boomers, at least among their clients, know that they know nothing about online marketing. They are fine with it. And that's why they hire experts to do the work for them. And they are not going to challenge them every single day of the week. Their core customer is not tech savvy, but understands the importance of marketing and is willing to invest in it. Now, some of these characteristics you can find out before talking with a prospect, like, service provider versus product based. It's pretty easy to do just based on the yellow pages. Some of these things you need a conversation to identify whether you have the right prospect or not. So what they did is they put together a checklist, a number of questions, so that in a 20-minute conversation, they could identify whether the person in front of them or on the other side of the phone was a potential core customer or not. And based on that, they would decide whether they wanted how much time they wanted to invest in getting this prospect, turning this prospect into a client. If it was a potential core customer, they would invest a lot of time and energy into converting them into a client. If this was not a potential core customer, they would invest exactly 0 time. If the person wants to work with them, that's fine. You're welcome. We're a great company. We can help you. But they were not going to go after them and send thousands of follow-up emails. So knowing your core customer enables you to better target your marketing and sales time and energy. Third example, also a small company. It's a chocolate company. They only serve B2B customers. And they thought that they knew their core customer, which are companies active in mortgage and financial services. Now, we do the exercise together nonetheless, and they realize that their core customer is actually broader than that. It is not just mortgage and financial services, it is also any business services and real estate. However, the key is that these are independent professionals, so not employees of big companies. These are independent people who make their own decisions. They don't have to report to their boss, so they can make fast decisions, and they are risk takers. They understand that if this gift works, it is great. They can buy more of it. And if this gift doesn't work, if it is not the right fit, it is fine. They are not going to make a big deal out of it. They just will not buy from this company again. So here again, the core customer provides you with a list of things to check so that you know when you talk with a prospect whether that person is a potential core customer or not, and you know how much energy you should put into pursuing that prospect. So the traditional way of viewing marketing is the funnel approach. So the goal of marketing is to generate leads. So you start with a very broad base, and then you send emails, newsletters, phone calls, whatever, and the prospects eliminate themselves in the traditional approach, and so that you get a small number of clients. That means that you waste a lot of time and resources on people who are not your potential core customers. The core customer approach is different. You start from the same broad base of prospects, but very early on, you are going to restrict that base to prospects that look very much like your core customer. And you will invest much more time and energy into these specific prospects. And the result is that you don't waste time on prospects that actually don't look like your core customers and have a smaller likelihood of becoming your customers. And therefore, with the same resources, we still have 24 hours per day. You can generate more business, more profitable by getting to know your core customers. So it's a bit like asking the question: imagine that I was the greatest salesperson in the world, which I'm not. and that I can bring you as many customers as you want. The only question I have for you is I need you to tell me exactly which customers you want, which type of customers you want. And that is what the core customer is about. So what is the core customer? Well, the core customer is defined along two, sometimes three dimensions. The first dimension, the vertical dimension here, is profitability. Your core customer is more profitable than your average customer. Profitable in dollars, not in percent. So they pay top dollars, they don't beg for discounts because they really appreciate what you do for them. The second dimension, horizontally, is your core customer generates more referrals to your business than your average customer, and therefore they generate future business. And that is part of the reason why knowing your core customer generates exponential growth. It is because it generates referrals, which are often of higher quality than random prospects. So a profitable customer that doesn't refer is just that, a profitable customer. It is not a core customer. A customer who refers a lot but is not that profitable is a good referrer, but not a core customer. For the core customer, we want the best of both worlds. We want a customer that is more profitable than your average customer and refers you more than your average customer. Now, in some businesses, there is a third dimension. And the third dimension is ease of doing business with. It's typically in businesses with a lot of personal interactions, like the marketing agency. They have a lot of interactions with their customers. And someone who is easy to do business with is a better customer because interaction costs a lot of time and energy and kind of a pain in the butt if you have to service customers that are not just not the right fit for your business. In some businesses, in other businesses, it doesn't matter. Like in the chocolate business, it doesn't matter whether the guy is just a pain in the butt because there are not that many interactions. So decide for yourself whether ease of doing business with is relevant to your business or not. So in summary, your core customer is a real person. So even if you sell to businesses, your core customer is a decision maker. It is a human being, not the company. They buy for optimal profit. They do not beg for discounts. They pay on time. They are loyal and they refer others. And they exist in your customer base. We are not talking about an idealistic customer who doesn't exist. We are talking about a customer that you serve right now or that you have served in the past. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to start listing customers that meet these criteria. You know, they are more profitable than the average customer. They refer you more than the average customer. And I'm going to ask you to describe these people as much as you can. And here is how I want you to describe them. I want you to write down their names, and don't do it now. Just you will do it on the next slide. So write down their names of the decision maker, the one who pays the check, who pays the bill. If it is a B2B customer, what is their company name? What is the industry? What is the side of the company? Whatever information you have, don't invent information. And then we go deeper. How does this person look like? What is their position within the company, their age, how long have they been with the company, what is their gender, their location, education, work background, as much as you know about the company. And then we go a level deeper and we start talking about the psychology. How do they make decisions? Are they quick at making decisions? Do they need time? Are they nervous about the decision? What is the risk that they are taking? What is the impact if they make wrong decisions, and how nervous are they about this impact? And then finally, what is the problem that they have? And remember, there is a superficial problem, which is what the customer tells you, like right away, I need chocolate or I need a house or that kind of things. And there is the fundamental problem, the deeper problem, which is, hey, I need to be unique in the eyes of my clients so that they remember me when I call them back in 6 months. And therefore, I need a different type of chocolate gift. So the superficial problem is I need a chocolate gift, and the fundamental problem is I need something that will make them remember me. You want to understand the fundamental problem. All right. So at this stage, I'm going to ask you to go back to your sheet of paper and draw 3 columns, just like this slide, 3 columns. At the top of the first column, to the left, you write core customer name. At the top of the column in the middle, you write characteristics. And at the top of the right column, you write fundamental problem. What I'm going to ask you to do now is first fill out the first column to the left. So I'm going to ask you to identify 3 to 5 customers, real customers that you have now or have had in the past, and that correspond to the characteristics of a core customer. So they are more profitable than the average customer, than your average customer, and they refer you more than your average customer. So let's take 60 seconds to answer this question and to fill out 3 to 5 names of core customers for your business.
And we've got about 30 seconds left before we return you to Xavier. I'm also monitoring our question and answer box too. We'll be answering some of your questions later on after the presentation. Got about 15 more seconds.
All right, so by now you should have 3 to 5 names, people's names in the left column. Sometimes what I've just asked you to do is a difficult exercise because it gives you the feeling that you cannot serve the rest of the world. And again, this is not about not serving the rest of the world. It is identifying who works best for your business. When I ask Ray what his core customers are, the Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit, but kind of a business, a non-profit business. It makes him very nervous because he says, "We serve everybody. I mean, how can we focus on a specific segment?" And indeed, you can still serve everybody, but the truth is, some of your customers are just a better fit, or some of your members, Ray, are just a better fit for your business. And when you go after prospects, you need to know which prospects require your full attention and which prospects you should not spend too much time on. Now let's go to the second step of this table. So I'm going to ask you to fill out the characteristics about each of these customers that you've listed. And to be clear, I'm not asking you to write down the average characteristics of your customer. No. It is the characteristics of each of these names. So if one of my core customers is Ray, I'm going to write the characteristics of Ray specifically, not of my other clients, but of Ray specifically. And I'm going to go back to this graph so that you can to give you inspiration about what you need to write down in terms of characteristics. What is the industry, the size of the business, the age, gender, location, position within the company, and so on. Let's take what time is it? Let's take 2 minutes to write down the characteristics for each of the names that you have listed.
And we have about a minute 30 left. Minute 30 left. About 1 minute left. 1 minute till we get back to Xavier. And 30 seconds left. 30 seconds. Xavier, you can take it back in 30 seconds.
Right. So now coming back to the table, you should have the left column filled in with 3 to 5 names, and the middle column filled in with the characteristics for each of these names. Now, my question to you now, and you can share in the chat, is how easy was it for you to fill out the characteristics of your core customers, and how similar or different are they from the characteristics that I asked you to put on your sheet of paper at the beginning of the presentation? All right. Let's move on. Just checking the time. So I don't know how it was for you. I cannot see the chat from here, unfortunately. But very often the reaction I get from clients is, wow, now I realize that I actually don't really know my customers. And that is very natural, very normal. When we speak with our clients, we speak about kind of transactional things. Hey, how many units do you want? When do you want them? Have you been delivered on time? Are you happy with the service? That kind of things. But we rarely go deeper. We rarely try to get to know them as people. So what I'm asking you to do here can feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that is part of the game. What I'm going to ask you to do next will feel much more uncomfortable. Just a heads up. What I'm going to ask you, and we are not going to do this now, is in the next few days or few weeks, is to call these core customers, to have a 20-minute conversation with them, so that you can improve your description of the characteristics of these people, and you understand their fundamental problems, so that you can fill out the column to the right, and you understand your inside advantage, your competitive advantage, viewed through the eyes of your clients. So the next slide has an interview guide. So it's a guide. So you don't have to follow these questions like this, but this is kind of a proven guide that I've used over and over again with many clients, and that works. So you want to understand a number of things. First, you want to identify their core problem, their fundamental problem. What is the number one reason you hired us? And you want to go deeper to understand, okay, well, what was happening in your life when you hired us? Then you want to understand your inside advantage, your competitive advantage viewed by your customer, with a question like, hey, what do we do that others don't? What makes us unique and better in your eyes? And you notice for each team, I have 2 or 3 questions. These are actually the same questions asked from a different perspective, and you can ask just one of the questions per team, or 2 or 3, so that people, because some people need a bit of inspiration to give you the type of answer you want to hear. The third theme is what can I do better? Now, this is often a stressful question because the last thing that we want to hear from clients is what we do bad. Well, two things. Number one, if we know that it is going to help us improve. But number two, keep in mind, these are your best customers. They love you. If they wouldn't love you, they would be gone already. But they love you. They're loyal to you. So their feedback overall is going to be very positive. When they will give you negative or constructive feedback, it's going to be probably something that you can fix relatively easily and that will make their life much easier. For instance, when I asked this question to my clients, last time when I asked it 6 months after I started my business, the feedback was, hey, we love what you do, blah, 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 but we need more breaks in your workshops. I do 4-hour workshops and, I'm passionate about what I do, so I can go 4 hours straight. And clients told me, we are dying here. We need breaks every hour. That was super easy for me to do. Doing a break doesn't cost me much. And it made their experience much better. So that is the kind of feedback that you receive from your core customers. The fourth point is you want to identify ways to improve your marketing. And the last point is you want to get to know them as human beings so that you can improve your description of their characteristics. So in that 20-minute phone conversation with them or face-to-face, you want to better understand their fundamental problem, understand your inside advantage through their eyes, understand what you can do better, how you can improve your marketing, and who they are as people. It is important to have these conversations on the phone or face-to-face. Email doesn't work. Every time I ask clients to do this, the first reaction is to find 1,000 of excuses why they should not do it. And the smarter the client, the more sophisticated their excuses. But the thing is, the reality is we are all afraid of calling our clients to ask these questions. And that is very natural. But I'm going to encourage you and kind of beg you to overcome your own fear because you will learn a lot in the process. We view ourselves as being a pain in the butt when we call our questions to ask these because our clients are busy, they have other things to do. But the reality is we are asking our clients in these conversations to talk about their favorite topic, themselves. Dear client, tell me about yourself, about your problem, about how you view us, about who you are as a person, and people love doing that. On top of that, we are asking them for advice, what can I do better? People love giving advice. It makes them, when we ask them for advice, it makes them feel smart. And, we want our customers to feel smart. So you might have the impression that calling or talking to your clients will bother them. It will not. They will love it. When I force my clients to do this, they hate me when they do it. In the first conversation, when they pick up the phone the first time, it's like, oh, I hate you, Xavier, for making me do this. Then they have the conversation because I force them to do it, and they love it. The feedback is super positive. The negative feedback they receive is actually pretty easy to fix, and they learn a lot about their core customer. So the next step, your next step, is 4 things. Number 1, make your list of 3 to 5 customers, and jot down as much of the description as you can. So what you started doing in this conversation. The second next step is contact them, book a meeting with them, and have a 20-minute conversation with them, with at least 3 of them, based on the interview guide that I've just shared. And then, based on this, develop a vivid picture of who your core customer is. So, what are the common characteristics among your 3 to 5 core customers? And we're not talking about expensive focus groups or that kind of things. This is all, you doing it, and it's you who should do it. It's not something that you can delegate to an assistant. You as business owner should do this. You need to have the knowledge in your mind. You have to feel your customers. And then once you've developed that picture of the description of your core customer and their problem, develop the picture of how they view your competitive advantage. What is your inside advantage? And then the final step, step number 4, is, all right, now you understand your inside advantage. How can you become better at that inside advantage? So coming back to my construction company, how can they be better at communication? And coming back to the chocolate business, in New York City, how can they be better at giving a sense of connection with their clients, a sense of humanity, and use that to drive your strategy? Because if you get better at that, you will attract more of your core customers, and you will accelerate your growth. So 4 next steps: finish your list of 3 to 5 core customers and the description. Have phone calls with at least 3 of them. Develop a picture of the common characteristics of your core customers and your inside advantage, and then identify ways to get better at your inside advantage. All right. So now I have my last questions for today. So today we talked about a lot of things. We covered a lot of ground. We talked about the inside advantage, so the competitive advantage viewed by your customer that is inside your business, and that often we have wrong assumptions about that inside advantage. Then we talked about the concept of core customer and why it is so important for you and how it can help you accelerate your growth. And then we started the exercise of listing your core customers and listing the characteristics of your core customers. So my first question to you is, if you forget everything else about this webinar, what is, except one thing, what is that one thing, that one insight that you want to remember from this webinar? Take 30 seconds to write it down on your sheet of paper. All right, so now you have that one insight that you really want to remember from this webinar. My second question to you is, what will you do this week? So this is Thursday, so in the rest of the week, to put this into action, to make sure that it doesn't, remain on the shelf and gather dust. What will you do to put this into action, this insight into action? And when will you do this? This afternoon, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon? When will you do this thing? Take 30 seconds to think about it and make your decision. All right, very good. Can you share in the chat the insight that you got from this, the one insight that you want to remember, and that you got from this webinar? Ray, what do you want to remember from this webinar? If you could remember only one thing.
I think humility. And what I mean by that is, don't think you know the answers. You really do need to dig deeper. And I think, Xavier, what I learned in our previous conversations, not just about membership here at the Chambers of Commerce, is that there's unique customers, but they're in your core. So that you can find them individually. You have these techniques that are excellent to put into practice, but it requires consistency. And I think that's what I've learned from you in this presentation and our conversations before in our engagement with the Chamber, is basically the humility and understanding that to be effective is to be a good listener, a good, insightful identifier, and you take that and put that into the action with discipline and consistency. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. These are really important words, humility and discipline to turn insights into action. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A and or in the chat. You can reach me whenever you want to continue the conversation. You have my contact information on this slide. And then so on a weekly basis, I share a newsletter with insights on how to grow your business. Every newsletter is on a specific topic. And I'm going to share in the chat the link to sign up for this newsletter so that we can all continue learning as we go, so that we can grow faster and create wealth for all of us in for Connecticut. Thank you.
Xavier, thank you so much. It's a very thorough presentation. We do welcome your chat information if you'd like to share to everyone, or if you have a question specifically that you'd like to put privately in the question and answer session. We have about 5 more minutes before we wrap up things. This will be, as you know, recorded, and we will be posting this to our YouTube channel at the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce as well. So make sure you copy down the information to contact Xavier afterwards. And I mentioned humility just a moment ago too, about that, and sort of the service aspect of being a very good customer service provider. Getting up in the morning, sometimes we get very distracted throughout our day. We're thinking about, well, I've got a doctor's appointment, or I have to run a few errands, or I have to take the kids to soccer practice, or whatever is going on during the course of the day. How do you, during the course of your day, stay mindful? How do you recommend that all of us stay on message and stay disciplined so that we're better at finding our core customers and retaining them? What practice during the day would you recommend?
Thank you very much. And the behavior you're describing is something I see a lot. This kind of sense of busyness, and as a result, at the end of the day, we haven't done what's truly important for our business. The one thing I recommend is to set priorities. And one way to do this is at the end of each day, 2 minutes before you leave you leave the office, is to take a sheet of paper and jot down the 2 or 3 top priorities for the next day. These are the things that no matter what, I need to accomplish. And if you do that, and if you stick to it, like you mentioned discipline, this is what it takes. You will notice that you will work much more efficiently. Now, these things that you put on your sheet of paper might take, 20 minutes, 30 minutes altogether, and that's fine. But every day working on the top priorities and taking a bit of time to identify what is most important, most impactful on your day at the end of the previous day or at the beginning of a day is I found very, very helpful for many CEOs.
That's excellent. It's good practice. It's essentially the shampoo bottle: rinse, lather, repeat. And it does work. It does work. It's developing great habits. Well, thank you. You've been a wonderful presenter. I think on behalf of the Small Business Council, the Greater New Haven Chamber, the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, we are certainly learned a lot last hour from your coaching and business coaching and your presentation. Xavier, you posted some of your contact information. You're on LinkedIn, your Twitter handle. You have your website, ambrosegrowth.com. Any parting words for all of us, words of inspiration as we move on from our seminar today?
Well, growing a business is can sometimes feel very frustrating. Running or owning a business definitely feels very lonely. It's lonely at the top. But what I've found out over the years is there is always hope. As long as you have the willingness to grow your business, as long as there's real growth potential and you have the willingness to put in the work and the discipline, there is always a way to find a way. There is always a way to grow your business. And often that way is different than what you think. It's, looking at your world from a different perspective, but there is always a way to grow faster and with less pain.
Excellent. Xavier Lederer, Ambrose Growth, ambrosegrowth.com. Thank you so much for being part of the Small Business Council, our webinar. We'll be continuing these webinars on a monthly basis here at our Chambers of Commerce, at the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, and also our Small Business Council presents monthly small business luncheons. And they will be in New Haven, North Haven, Wallingford area restaurants as well. Thank you all for coming. Xavier Lederer, thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you for having me. Have a very good week.
Everyone have a very good week and a very good day.